Welcome to the Selling to Corporate podcast, where we're going to be challenging your sales beliefs around selling to corporate organizations and help you increase your bottom line profits every single month. I am Jessica Lorimer, your sales expert and guide in this world of selling to corporate companies, skyrocketing your company sales and making the impact that you really want in the world. Now, don't forget, if you do enjoy the show today, please do head over to iTunes and leave us a review. But enjoy this episode, and I am really looking forward to sharing some epic sales wisdom with you. Okay, welcome to this episode. And it is a different type of episode today. I'm very excited to get stuck in, playing with a different format for today's episode, and you will understand why. But first, let's actually talk about what we're going to be discussing today. And if you are somebody who is driving, just prepare for the shock of a lifetime and brake. I jest, but today we are going to be talking about AI. And specifically, what you need to be thinking about and considering when it comes to using AI in your B2B sales process in a best practice way. I know. And I know that there'll be a lot of you thinking, but Jess, you hate AI. And I've tried to explain this over a number of episodes and to my clients in person, virtual training sessions, in my newsletter. And I think that people make the assumption that I really hate AI or that I dislike artificial intelligence. I don't. I have no problem with AI and using AI to do automation-based tasks. I think that AI can be really, really useful for certain people. And I think that even in my own business and in the professional sales teams that I'm training, and this will come up later, we're talking about and using AI a lot more to enhance skill sets. What I don't like about AI usage, so it's not the AI itself, it's about AI usage, is the fact that people are completely outsourcing their critical thinking to AI. That is deeply concerning to me. As somebody who is a self-professed lover of critical thought and debate and creativity, I intensely dislike that people are outsourcing their creative and critical faculties to an artificial intelligence system that is only as good as what it is scraping from the internet. And as somebody who's worked on the internet for 14 years, I can tell you that what is explicitly put around the internet is usually a load of old junk. When it comes to sales strategies, other niches, other disciplines may disagree. But when it comes to sales strategy, when it comes to creating outreach messaging, when it comes to any of that, AI usually produces a load of old junk. And I've said that on the podcast many times, and that is because no good salespeople are sitting there thinking, I've got this amazing outreach process that works. Do you know what I'm going to do? Plug it into open source AI and let any old salesperson have a go. In fact, it's one of the strictest parts of my terms and conditions now working with organizations. And I remind people at the beginning of every single training session that I do with professional companies, do not put these templates into AI. And we always have a refresher on it and we always have a conversation about it. And that's because I don't want my intellectual property to end up on open source AI. And I also don't want that to happen. One, because it's my intellectual property and I've spent years and years training, developing it, testing it, getting proven results from it. But two is because if you don't know how to use the strategy and you're just using part of it that AI can pick up, it's not going to work in the same way. So that's my little overview on how I feel about AI. But that is not the purpose of this episode. The purpose of this episode has come about because in the last 12 to 18 months, we have seen one of the biggest changes that has come to B2B sales in, I don't know, probably the last decade. And that is that corporate decision makers are now using AI more than any other search platform. In fact, I was reading something the other day that said that 66% of buyers, meaning corporate decision makers, are actually using AI to research and shortlist suppliers before they visit any websites, which is huge. And in today's episode, I want to talk about why that's important and what it means for you. And I'm also going to run an experiment live on the podcast, which I guess is recorded on the podcast. Weird, but true. So in today's episode, we are going to be covering off what this change means for you as a coach, a consultant, speaker, trainer, or done-for-you service provider. We're going to talk about how it's going to impact your lead generation strategy. If I had to talk about how it's going to impact your overall sales strategy, that would be an incredibly long episode, so you'll have to bear with on that. We're also going to be talking about what this means for your proactive sales strategy and lead generation. And that's really important because I think that there are lots of people who listen to this and go, oh my gosh, Jess, I'm just going to outsource everything that I have ever looked at doing from a sales strategy perspective. And I am going to say, please don't do that. Please don't do that yet. Maybe in like 5 years, I don't know, who knows, but not yet. Now, as a quick reminder, this episode, like every other this year, yay, is being sponsored by the Expert Services Directory, which incidentally, if you are a listee in the Expert Services Directory, you automatically are going to be ahead of the game on some of the things that we're talking about today. And as we all know, being an early adopter of anything is great. It's kind of like one of my friends years ago, she bought stocks and shares when we were in our 20s. Now, I'll be honest, I had never heard what stocks and shares were, and I spent all of my money on, daft things like handbags, shoes, things that made me really happy in the moment, but actually in later life just got destroyed because, I'd take my really nice handbag and put it on the floor in a pub. I mean, I don't even know who I was back then. Wouldn't happen now, I can tell you, but I would. And then eventually I'd end up with a sticky handbag with a weird strap and be like, oh, I just have to buy another one. Anyway, my friend, much smarter than me, she bought stocks and shares in her 20s. Lovely. Really great. So glad that she didn't, ram the issue down my throat further. But when she started doing this, her parents were saying to her, invest in banks, like invest in, things that are proven and traditional. And she was like, hey, there's this company called Netflix. I think I'm going to pick up a few shares there. And she did. They were quite cheap at the time. Now, well, you know how that has panned out. So if you are somebody who is inside the Expert Services Directory and you are listed inside the Expert Services Directory, you have this awesome opportunity to become an early adopter. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of ranking in AI search. We're going to talk about the power of being indexed by AI search engines or search platforms. And all of that is much easier if you are inside and featured in a curated directory. Okay? That is not something that you can access just having your own website. And the reason that being part of the Expert Services Directory is so powerful for being indexed, cited, and recommended by AI is because it is a powerfully curated directory. It's not something that's got 1,000 different listees in it. You are specifically limited to 10 specialists per category, per location. And that means that AI absolutely loves it. It's crawling the Expert Services Directory every single day. And we are finding that people who are listed inside the Expert Services Directory are popping up on AI search for decision makers who are actively looking inside corporate organizations. So if you are looking to improve your passive visibility this year, meaning getting recommended by AI search to active qualified corporate buyers, then being featured and listed inside the expert services directory is perfect for you. So if you haven't gone and checked out the expert services directory yet, and you are thinking by the end of this episode, oh my gosh, actually, maybe I should go and get myself in there, hop across to expertservicesdirectory.com, go to the little sales page, you can fill out an application, and we can get you in if you are the right fit. All right then, so let's start with today's episode. And before we go into the experiment phase, which I'm very excited about, I just want to answer a quick question that I know will be coming up for a lot of you, which is, okay, Jess, so if you're talking about AI in a B2B sales strategy now, does it mean that you are going to go and become one of the AI specialists in the world? No, is the answer. In fact, if you go onto the Expert Services Directory, you will see that there are people who specialize in using AI with organizations, who specialize in creating AI strategy, who specialize in creating product and all different types of services with AI inside corporate organizations. That is not what I do. Over the last 12 to 18 months, though, I've been working with a number of professional sales teams and exploring how they can leverage AI to do very, very specific things in their sales strategy. And you will know that I work with organizations around the world. I work with some incredible professional salespeople, and the strategies that I create, I am fortunate enough to be able to test with organizations who have multiple sales professionals, multiple sales teams, huge budgets, huge amounts of data sets, which means that when we create a strategy that works really, really well, I can then say, okay, well, here's how we can translate that for entrepreneurs, right? It is not like I don't know, I was a finance director in a corporate company 50 years ago, and now I'm going to teach you how to sell to companies. This is, I am actively inside organizations working on some of the most exciting, revolutionary, front thinking, that sounds awkward, forward thinking sales strategy that they can implement. And then I'm taking that innovation to you, right? So no, I'm not going to become an AI specialist. No, I'm not going to teach you how to create headshots or something using AI. No, I don't think you should write your outreach message with it. No, I don't think you should get it to write newsletters for you. It's not going to work in the way you expect selling to corporates with those kinds of things. However, there are elements of the sales process that I've been testing over the last 18 months with professional sales teams that actually really benefit from AI usage. And that is what I'm sharing with you today. Okay. And that's what we're going to experiment with together. So when it comes to talking about AI in the B2B sales process, like I say, there are certain elements that it can support you with or reduce manual workload for. And the biggest part of this is lead generation. Okay. Actually, there are so many ways now that you yourself can be using AI to generate more qualified leads and corporate decision makers. Okay. And I think that that's really interesting because for so long there has been a barrier to entry around how people approach corporate decision makers, how people target them, how people approach them, how people follow up. And it makes lead generation seem like this quite complex and difficult thing. And there are a lot of ways that AI can support you to reduce manual workload. If you are one of my clients and you're listening to this and you're thinking, but Jess, you love manual things, don't worry, there are a lot of things that you cannot change. My thoughts on email deliverability will not change. But in all seriousness, there are parts of your proactive lead generation process that AI usage can really benefit. And that's what I've been experimenting with significantly with professional salespeople. The other thing that can be really, really useful when it comes to using AI to specifically generate corporate clients is what we're calling passive visibility. Now, a few months ago, I say a few months ago, probably like a month ago now, but it doesn't matter. That's not relevant. I did a workshop talking about how you can generate corporate clients without having a huge following or posting on social media all the time. And one of the pieces that I coined in there was this idea of passive visibility. Now, when we talk about how most of the online space operates, we've had courses for years and years on passive income. It's important to note that is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is passive visibility, meaning the ability for you to show up and be found by corporate decision makers who are actively looking. And with the rise in AI usage, that has drastically changed over the last 12 to 18 months. Why? Well, the way that we search has changed drastically over the last 12 to 18 months. So here's a bit of an example. When corporate buyers are looking to source an external supplier, what used to happen was two things, really. One, they would ask for referrals internally. So, an HR director might go out to HR business partners in their business. They might go out to heads of learning development. They might go out to specific departmental leaders and say, do you know any executive coaches? Who do you know who's good? And they get a few referrals. And then what would happen is they'd have to verify those referrals. So were those executive coaches still in business? Were they specialists in the area that the HR director was looking for somebody? And after they'd done that, if they found somebody useful from a referral, wonderful. But if they didn't, they'd go out to Google, right? So Google, they'd type in, or they'd get usually a junior employee to go in and see if they could find an executive coach who had the skills they were looking for. And that junior employee would be tasked with benchmarking that person. So how much are their sessions? What kind of things do they recommend? And then they would create the shortlist and give that to the HR director, and the process would go from there. And this is why, for those of you who've been doing any kind of proactive lead generation over the last 10 years, and you've been told, oh, we'll put your name on file, just send us a one-pager, is absolute rubbish. They are filing your lead generation outreach email into junk. That's all that's happening. They're just putting you off, because what they're actually using is referrals and then going on to Google. And this is why actually proactive outreach was so effective, because when done in a best practice way, proactive outreach actually helps you to start the sales process, build relationships, and stay top of mind, so that when they have a need, you are coming up, as opposed to just being filed in junk, never to be heard of again. However, AI has changed the game. So, what used to happen was this piece around SEO, search engine optimization. Decision maker decides they need an external supplier, asks for referrals, doesn't find anybody, goes to Google. Google ranks websites and says, okay, cool, here are some links, go check them out. Or go and get your junior employee to check them out. That's not how people are searching anymore. It's not how qualified corporate buyers are searching anymore. Instead, they're going to their AI tool. They're going to Claude, they're going to ChatGPT, they're going to Perplexity, and they're even searching differently, right? It's funny because recently Owen and I were talking about searching for things on the internet. And I've always been somebody who will type out a full question. For example, something I searched for recently was, what type of robot lawnmower should I have if I put huge borders of flowers in my garden? And Owen always laughs at me, because he's like, Google is there just to pick up on specific keywords. So he would just type in robot mower borders and probably get the same searches. But I've never been like that. I like to type out the full thing. Maybe that makes me an oddity. If you also do it and you're listening to this, please let me know. Which camp do you sit in? Full questions or just keywords? We can do some kind of unofficial research together, maybe. But with AI, what we're seeing is that the way people are searching is different, because they're chatting essentially to their AI tool. So instead of saying leadership coach, London, financial services, they're typing in things like find me a leadership coach who works with financial services firms. And it doesn't give them a list of website links to go and check out. What it does is it gives them a list of names, maybe 3, maybe 4. And those names come from what the AI platform has learned. And that's based on a lot of different things. Primarily, it's based on the AI tool being able to scan structured information that it has found about that person or those people that demonstrates that they are an expert. Which means if you are not ranking in AI search, you aren't even part of the conversation, right? It's not a case of you're not getting found anymore. It's a case of you don't even exist to corporate buyers who are actively looking outside of the relationships that are being generated by proactive outreach and by referral because they're going onto AI. Now, I wanted to talk about this because I think it's really interesting. And actually, I thought we could do a little experiment together. I went onto ChatGPT. You can go onto any AI tool that you want. But I went onto ChatGPT because I thought, do you know what? The people who listen to the podcast will be like, oh, this is interesting, but what, is it actually real? And so I went on and I typed in, find me a leadership coach who works with financial services firms. Now, this is interesting because what it brought up was a list of 5 different suppliers that it has cited, indexed, and ranked highly. And out of all of those suppliers, only one is a sole provider. Only one. The rest are companies. And by companies, I mean the rest are organizations that have hired multiple executive coaches themselves who work on an associate basis or a permanent basis with them to deliver the service. The other interesting thing was it brought me up a map. So it brought me up a map in London. Lovely. I don't know why it brought up London because obviously I live in North Yorkshire now, but still, maybe that's just because I typed in financial services and it's thinking, oh, they're not hanging out in North Yorkshire. And then what's really interesting is that it gives me a shortlist and it asks me if I want to narrow the search further. So it says, to narrow this further, tell me your role, for example, CEO, MD, partner, head of function. Tell me whether you work in banking, asset management, wealth management, insurance, fintech, or another sector, and whether or not you're looking for one-to-one coaching for yourself or a coach for your organization. And I can give you a more targeted shortlist. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Because what the AI platform is saying is, okay, cool. Here are some people who are highly ranked in terms of AI search, but tell me more about your specific situation and I can get you better providers. Now, what you might be thinking here is, oh my God, this is revolutionary. It is revolutionary. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. And I've been working with professional sales teams on this over the last 12 to 18 months because it is changing an important part of lead generation. And that important part of lead generation is passive visibility or your ability to attract inbound leads. Now, just want to create a caveat here, right? Because I think that it's very easy to get very overexcited and go, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go and figure out how to get cited on AI. And then I'm going to get tons of inbound leads and it's going to be amazing. And I'm never going to have to do proactive outreach again and stuff my sales process. Like, it's all good. Having tested this extensively over the last 12 to 18 months with professional salespeople, and like I say, I work with multiple sales teams, multiple salespeople in each team, multiple different regions, I can tell you it is not enough. It is not enough to sit back and say, okay, cool, well, I'm just going to get loads of passive visibility, loads of new leads, and it's all going to be inbound and it's all going to be fine. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that using this in conjunction with a proven proactive lead generation process is going to exponentially scale your ability to sell and scale your ability to win premium deals. Okay. Now, let's take an example of this because I think it is really important that we don't all immediately go out and buy any AI course we can get on the market, because that's very much not what I'm saying here. But if we take an example, let's say somebody who is a leadership coach. Let's call them Sarah, because I have a Sarah who works on my team and she's great. So nice name. So let's call them Sarah. Sarah's a leadership coach. She's got, I don't know, 5 to 8 years of experience at being a leadership coach, running her own organization. And Sarah specializes in working with senior leaders in financial services firms. She understands the environment. She knows about the regulatory changes. She knows about the pressure of working in a regulated environment. She knows about the communication challenges that happen within a high-pressured financial services environment. Her clients get great results. They get promoted. Her scores in organizations are really high around engagement and retention. And she's done everything that she was supposed to do. Sarah's got a website. She is on LinkedIn. She is posting 4 times a week. She sends a monthly newsletter. She is active at networking. Genuinely, Sarah is brilliant. She's doing all the things she's told to do ever. But Sarah now has a problem. Corporate buyers can't find her because the corporate buyers who are actively looking, meaning those who are actively searching, not those who are sitting on a problem and aren't actioning it until they see some proactive outreach that highlights the problem and potential transformation. The problem that Sarah has is that the active buyers, they're going onto AI and they're typing things like, I need a leadership coach for our senior leadership team. We're a financial services firm. She's the perfect answer, but she's not the answer that AI is giving. And that is because she is not being indexed. She is not being cited. She is not being recommended by AI. And that means that the shortlist of suppliers that active corporate buyers who are searching for, that shortlist doesn't include Sarah, right? Because she's not being cited or indexed by AI. It means that whilst she might get referred internally, that person that she is referred to goes onto AI and says, okay, cool, well, tell me about Sarah. You know, I've been recommended, would you use Sarah? And nothing really comes back. But in looking at Sarah and looking at the profile that they're looking for, the AI platform is like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, don't know about this Sarah person, but good news, I've got a couple of other coaches that I can recommend to you. So the original corporate buyer who is active, who's looking, they go and look at the others first, right? The referral goes cold. It's also likely that then what happens is the deal goes to somebody who's less qualified, right? Just because somebody's a great marketer, and you will know this as well as I do, just because somebody's a great marketer doesn't mean they're great at delivery. Often they are not, because those two things are not the same. So because Sarah is not being cited and indexed and recommended by AI, guess what? She's not being seen, she's not being used, and that means that somebody who's got less experience, who doesn't know the regulated environment, who doesn't know the specific communication pressures that people in financial services are under or that the leaders are under, they're being used instead. And the organisation, as a result, doesn't get the transformation that they expect. And we see that continued cynicism around using external suppliers. That's what happens when we compound the cost of being invisible now from a B2B sales perspective. It doesn't mean that it's a one-off missed opportunity anymore. It means that for every single month that someone like Sarah, or like you, or like me, isn't indexed, isn't cited, isn't recommended, it means it's another month of active buyers who are searching and not finding you, right? And given that we're coming up to the busiest sales period of the year, September, this matters because people are going to be leaving jobs in September. Organizations will be looking for external suppliers. It happens every single year. If you haven't been listening to the podcast for the last 5 years, please go back, because every single year in September, I record an episode about why it is the best time to sell to companies. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go and listen to it. It's still relevant. And so if you don't get this sorted, it is going to be a problem. Now, you might also be thinking, well, Jess, hang on. It sounds like you've drunk the AI Kool-Aid here. What has happened? And I assure you, I have not. What I have noticed and what I think would be remiss of me to dismiss is the fact that proactive outreach will always give you the most predictable, the most scalable, the most measurable a way to track. I've just got my words completely mixed up there. I'm sorry. I think it's the heat. But proactive lead generation will always give you the most measurable, predictable, and simple way to target, identify, and approach corporate decision makers and sell effectively. However, we can't ignore the fact that AI now exists and the fact that passive visibility is a huge opportunity for coaches and consultants to generate more income when corporate decision makers are actively looking to buy. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying get rid of proactive outreach. I'm not saying AI search is better than proactive outreach. Absolutely, categorically, 100%, never, 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 ever, no. What I am saying is that they should be used in conjunction now to help you to win predictable, scalable, consistent business from proactive outreach that's controllable and to generate additional revenue, nice to have revenue from the power of being cited, indexed, and recommended by AI search. And that is why I am hosting a 2-hour, well, 2.5-hour probably, masterclass virtually called Amplify with AI on Friday the 17th of July. Now, this is a paid workshop. If you go onto the checkout page, which will be linked into the show notes, and use the code podcast, you will get a discount on attending, but it is a paid workshop. Now, this workshop is designed specifically for coaches, for consultants, speakers, and trainers to learn exactly what I have been doing with professional sales teams to help them leverage the power of passive visibility using AI into your existing sales process so that you can get found by active corporate buyers. But it is also to support you in using AI very specifically to help target better qualified cold corporate contacts so that you can use better qualified proactive outreach as well. So with Amplify to AI, which if you know me or have known me for a while, you'll know that I'm very pleased about the alliterative ability that I have given the name of that particular workshop. You are going to specifically learn how AI search is changing the game for passive visibility for coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers, and how it is changing the game specifically for your sales process and your ability to be found by corporate decision makers who are actively looking to buy from external suppliers right now. You're also going to learn how to leverage generative engine optimization so that corporate buyers find you when they're searching for your area of specialism rather than finding 5 traditional consultancy firms or big coaching firms or big training firms. And you're going to learn how to use these techniques alongside your proactive lead generation so that you're building your pipeline from both directions. And that part to me is the most important. Like I've said throughout this episode, AI is not going to be the be all and end all. Integrating it into specific parts of your B2B sales process in very specific and best practice ways will help you generate more revenue. But this is not the time for you to go and create 1,000 blogs. It's just not. This is the time for you to very specifically and intentionally use elements of AI to help reduce your manual workload around lead generation. It is the time for you to specifically and intentionally use AI when it comes to improving your passive visibility so that you can get found by more active corporate buyers. And it is the time for you to use AI to make sure that you are scaling your sales in the right way and in a simple way. So if you are interested in that workshop, it is on Friday the 17th of July, starts at 10 a.m. UK. You can grab your ticket from the link inside the show notes. And like I say, if you use the code podcast, you get a discount up until Monday. So if you buy your ticket before Monday, you'll get a discount on that and be able to attend. And before anyone asks me, yes, there'll be a recording. There will be a recording of the workshop that you can access. If you're not able to attend live, you can get the recording there. But if you are able to attend live, you should, because it will be interactive. We're going to be experimenting together. We're going to be doing activities together, and you will get the ability to ask me questions about AI integration with various parts of your sales process as well. All right. It has been ace to spend time with you today. And if you have enjoyed the little experiment that we did together on the podcast, live as it were, let me know. I'll see you in the next step.